Good morning, and we're on chapter 6, section 6 exercises. All right, so this is the great thing about negative numbers. It's so easy. So they want us to graph number 13, and so we go over here and we have 0 to 14. So we go right here, and that's going to graph 14. But then it wants to know its opposite. Well, the opposite of 14 would be negative 14. So you go 10, 11, 12, and negative 13. Done. So here we go. We're going to graph negative 100. And here we go. We're going to plot right there. And then its opposite. Well, the opposite of negative 100 would be positive 100. So we're going to plot right there too. Okay, so we're on exercise 8, and we're ordering from least to greatest. Remember, anything that's got a negative in front of it is going to be smaller, and the bigger the number cuts from the 0 to the number line, the farther away it is. So if it's let's do the greatest first as the easiest. So we have 5, 10, and 15 are all positive, so 15 would be our greatest. And then we would have our 10, and then our 5. Well, if we think of this as a number line and we think of 0 right here, the next closest would be the 10, and then farthest away would be the negative 20. So there would be our least to greatest. So we're graphing negative 2/5. Here's 1/5. Here's negative 2/5. And then we want to do its opposite. So we would put one right here. And then we would want to do its opposite. So again, we're looking at the distance from the 0, and here's its opposite. Like the easiest lesson ever. So we're looking at negative 1.2, and we're going to just kind of drag that right to there. And then we're going to do a positive 1.2. So it's got to be one whole number, 0.2. So we're going to go right here. Done. Okay. So remember, when we're looking at a negative number is how far away from it is from the 0. Same thing with positive. When we go to the 0, if we put the 0 right here and we go to the right, the numbers get bigger. If we put the 0 right here and then we go to the left, the numbers get bigger. So if you think of this as being 0 and we think of the positives, we would have 1, 5, 6, or 1, 6, 2, 6, 3, 6, so it would get further away. If we think of it as a negative, it would be 0, and then 2 and 1, negative 2 and 1, 6, negative 2 and 2, 6, negative 2 and 3, 6. So of course, the negative 2 and 1, 6 is going to be closer to the 0, or it's going to be the bigger number. And the same thing, the further we get away from the 0 to the left, the smaller the number gets. So again, this number is going to be bigger because the 2 is larger than the 3. No, that's counterproductive or counterintuitive because we think of the 2 as always being the smaller of the 2. But when we think of it as closer to the 0, it's going to be, this is going to be smaller. The negative is going to make it this smaller. Remember, absolute value only means distance, so the absolute value of 13 would be 13. And again, when you're talking about absolute value, we're talking about the distance from the number line from the 0. So the negative 1 and 0.34, the absolute value would be the same as the positive or the opposite, which would be 1.34. Okay, so we're just talking about distance, and distance is always going to be in a positive. Now, all they're doing here is they're just saying the absolute value. Well, the absolute value of 4.4 is going to be 4.4, and the absolute value of negative 2.8 is going to be 2.8. So either way you cut it, 4.4 is always going to be bigger. Can you believe how quick that video was? It is 4 minutes and we are done. Woohoo! Have a great day.